Okay, we're going to be looking at carrying out an emergency stop now. Just before we drive off and do it, let's just have a quick chat about the important things here. This is the only time you should be stopping the car without checking any of your mirrors, because in an emergency situation you wouldn't have time. So it's no mirrors. And then after that, it's very important that you have a gap of time between depressing the clutch and depressing the brake. It's very important that the brake goes down first and then the clutch second. So because you'll probably be carrying this manoeuvre out in your test at somewhere between, say, 15 and 30 miles an hour, it's only going to take a couple of seconds to completely stop the car if you have the correct brake pressure. So you don't really have time to think in your mind, oh, it's really important that I put the clutch on after the brake, because by the time you've said that sentence to yourself, the car's already stopped. So when you're driving down the road, steering wheel nice and straight, hands even side of the steering wheel, looking straight ahead, just think to yourself in your mind, brake, clutch. If you do it as you say it, it works out quite nicely, as I'm about to demonstrate. So I'm just going to leave the curbside, doing all my correct observations as I pull away. So I'm just going to be doing this one at about 20 miles an hour. It's quite a bumpy road. I'll try my best not to activate the ABS, and I'll talk to you more about that in a moment. So I'd be driving down the road with the examiner in my test, and the examiner would be very clear that they'll be looking for somewhere to carry out an emergency stop. They'll be having a look around, and only when they're ready will they say stop and put their hand up. So it's very clear to you exactly when you're supposed to carry it out. So don't try to guess. It's really unnecessary. Just wait for them to tell you. And then you're going to be really judged here on your reaction time and your brake pressure, and making sure there's a gap between the brake and the clutch. So if you're driving down the road, the examiner would say stop, and then it'd be no mirrors, brake, clutch. So here we go. So we're driving down the road, stop, brake, clutch. Handbrake on, into first gear, prepare the car, carry out all round observations, and then driving on. That's an emergency stop. Now, if you want a quick explanation why it's important to make sure there's a gap between the clutch and the brake going down, it's because when the clutch is up and you're in normal driving mode, as you've probably experienced, when you take your foot off the gas, the car starts to slow down. What you're experiencing there is something called engine braking. So it's faster to stop the car with engine braking and the foot brake than just the foot brake on its own. Now, as soon as the clutch pedal goes down, your engine braking doesn't exist anymore. So you're using just the foot brake. So that's the reason we want to have a gap between the brake and the clutch, because the car will stop faster using this method. And obviously in an emergency, you want to stop as quickly as you can. So remember, you'll be driving down the road, no mirrors, brake, clutch. When you've completely stopped the car, handbrake on, then you simply prepare the car as usual, look in your interior mirror, do 360-degree observations, start by looking over your left shoulder, coming right throughout the car, through to your blind spot, and if it's all clear, handbrake down and you're off. So the reason the observations are very important after you've stopped the car is because if a 2 or 3-year-old ran out into the middle of the road to pick up the football or wherever else it might be, who do you think might be running out into the road after the 2 or 3-year-old? Could be some sort of carer, more than likely a parent or an older brother or sister or something, or a friend. That's why you need to carry out the observations. It's really, really important. You may have even seen just a few moments ago, when I carried out my emergency stop, the road was completely clear. By the time I'd stopped and then prepared and done my observations, a car had pulled out of the driveway. It was a sky blue Audi Estate, and just before I pulled off, it came down my right hand side. Now, if I hadn't carried out my observations properly, I might not have seen that car, and it was actually in my blind spot as I went to pull away. If I'd pulled away and that car was next to me, and the driver of that car wasn't expecting me to drive away, which obviously he wasn't, because otherwise he would have waited behind me, he might have started pulling back to the left-hand side of the road, expecting it to be clear, and there would have been a collision. So observations are obviously very important on several levels when you're carrying out emergency stop. After that, it's just really about your reaction time and your brake pressure. Now, when we talk about brake pressure, it does say in the book that you should try your very best not to activate the ABS. If it activates, don't worry about it. It's not the end of the world. You're not going to fail your driving test because the ABS has come on. But what happens with some cars, and it does vary a great deal from model to model, is depending how quickly you come off the gas pedal and onto the brakes, the car, depending on what sort it is, anticipates an emergency situation and applies maximum braking when you get on the brake pedal. So sometimes, especially in far more modern cars, you can't even help the ABS coming on really. So anyway, it's nothing for you to worry about. Just remember, no mirrors, brake, clutch. When the car's completely stopped, handbrake, first gear, prepare the car to go, look all around first, especially your blind spot, handbrake, and you're off. And that's your emergency stop done.